October 19th, 2025, 9:30 a.m. The Louvre Museum in Paris opens its doors to thousands of eager visitors. Tourists flow through the glass pyramid entrance, cameras ready, anticipating a day of art and history. But within the next 7 minutes, something would happen that would shock the entire world. 4 men, 8 priceless jewels, 1 audacious plan. This is the story of how the world's most visited museum fell victim to one of the boldest heists in modern history, and the question that haunts investigators to this very day: was it an inside job? The morning seemed ordinary. Families gathered outside the iconic pyramid. Art students clutched their notebooks. Security guards began their routine patrols through 782,910 square feet of corridors and galleries. But at 9:30 a.m., exactly 30 minutes after opening, something changed. A yellow moving truck pulled up alongside the museum's south facade near the Seine River. Nothing unusual. Paris sees construction vehicles constantly. The 2 men inside wore high-visibility vests, orange and yellow, the uniform of maintenance workers across France. Nobody questioned them. Nobody stopped them. The truck positioned itself beneath the Galerie d'Apollon, the Apollo Gallery, a 16th-century masterpiece of Renaissance architecture. This wasn't just any room. It housed what remained of the French crown jewels, treasures that survived revolution, war, and centuries of upheaval. Inside those display cases, diamonds that once adorned emperors, emeralds gifted by Napoleon himself, sapphires worn by queens, items of such historical significance that their value was simply listed as inestimable. And in 4 minutes, they would vanish.
9:30 a.m. The furniture lift, a Boker brand mobile platform, extended upward from the truck bed, slowly, methodically, rising toward a second-floor balcony window. 2 men stood in the bucket, their faces concealed behind balaclavas, black masks that transformed them from workers into phantoms. 9:34 a.m. The window shattered. Inside the Apollo Gallery, a space so ornate it's considered one of the most beautiful rooms in the world, the alarm system triggered. Red lights flashed in the security room. But here's where the story gets dark. Nobody was actively monitoring that specific camera feed. The security staff, stationed at a bank of screens showing thousands of angles across the massive museum, hadn't yet focused on the Apollo Gallery camera. And that camera, it was facing the wrong direction anyway. The thieves had 4 minutes before response teams could arrive. They needed every second. 2 men climbed through the broken window. In their hands, angle grinders, circular saws, tools of precision and violence. They moved with purpose, rushing to 2 specific display cases. They knew exactly which cases. They knew exactly what was inside. Were they working from photographs, from insider information, from months of planning? The glass cases, supposedly high-security installations, cracked under the assault. The grinding of metal against reinforced glass echoed through the gallery, but the museum's thick walls muffled the sound. Tourists walked through adjacent rooms, completely unaware that history was being stolen meters away. 9:36 a.m. The cases opened. Gloved hands reached inside, grabbing 8 specific pieces. Item 1. Napoleon's emerald necklace, set with over 1,000 diamonds, gifted to his second wife, Empress Marie-Louise, as a wedding present. The emeralds alone were worth millions. The historical significance? Priceless. Item 2.
a diamond and sapphire jewelry set worn by 3 queens, Hortense de Beauharnais, Marie-Amélie, and Isabelle d'Orléans. 24 Ceylon sapphires, 1,083 diamonds. Some historians believe it once belonged to Marie Antoinette herself. Item 3, Empress Eugenie's reliquary brooch. 94 diamonds, including the legendary Mazarin diamonds given to King Louis XIV in 1661, a sacred symbol of Catholic faith and royal power. And 5 more pieces, each with their own story, their own weight of history. But as the thieves grabbed their prizes, something went wrong. 9:38 a.m., police sirens wailed in the distance. Someone had called emergency services, not the museum's security system, a civilian. A cyclist passing by had seen helmeted men on a furniture lift breaking into the Louvre and dialed the emergency line. The thieves had 30 seconds, maybe less. They stuffed the jewels into bags and scrambled back toward the window. The descent was chaos, the furniture lift dropping fast, too fast. And in their haste, disaster struck. The crown of Empress Eugenie, gold encrusted with 1,354 diamonds and 56 emeralds, tumbled from someone's grip. It crashed onto the pavement below the balcony, damaged, glittering in the morning sun. But there was no time to retrieve it. The 2 men hit the ground and ran. Their accomplices, 2 more men waiting on motorcycles, revved their engines. Police were now 90 seconds away. The thieves mounted high-powered scooters. 4 men, 2 bikes, racing southeast through Paris streets, weaving between morning traffic, heading toward the A6 highway. Behind them, angle grinders, a blowtorch, gasoline cans, gloves, walkie-talkies, a blanket, and the falling crown. Evidence everywhere. And something else they didn't know they left behind: DNA.
By the time security guards burst into the Apollo Gallery, the thieves were gone. The display cases stood empty. Shattered glass glittered on the marble floor. The balcony window gaped open like a wound. 8 treasures, worth approximately 88 million euros, over $102 million, had vanished in 7 minutes. France was about to wake up to a national nightmare. Culture Minister Rachida Dati arrived at the scene within the hour. Her face was grim as cameras flashed. A robbery took place this morning at the Louvre. No injuries to report. Investigations underway. President Emmanuel Macron condemned it as an attack on a heritage that we cherish because it is our history. The Louvre closed immediately. For 3 days, one of the world's most popular museums sat empty while investigators combed through every inch of the Apollo Gallery. 100 investigators were assigned to the case, 7 days a week, full mobilization. They collected over 150 pieces of evidence: fingerprints on the blowtorch, DNA on a discarded helmet, traces on the angle grinder. Every fragment told a story. Security footage from CCTV cameras along the escape route was seized and analyzed frame by frame. The images showed 4 men in high-visibility vests, balaclavas, professional movements. But as details emerged, something didn't add up. The crime seemed too sophisticated, too precise, the timing perfect. The knowledge of exactly which cases to target, which jewels to steal, it spoke of planning, extensive reconnaissance. Yet the execution, sloppy. Dropped evidence, a fallen crown, DNA left at the scene. These weren't the mistakes of international art thieves. These were the errors of amateurs. So who were they? 6 days after the heist, October 25th, 10 p.m. Brigade de Recherche et d'Intervention, the BRI, France's elite surveillance unit, had been following leads non-stop. DNA from the helmet matched someone in the criminal database, a 34-year-old Algerian man.
When BRI agents spotted him heading toward Charles de Gaulle Airport, they made their move. He was arrested attempting to flee the country. Simultaneously, officers raided a home in Aubervilliers, a northeastern Paris suburb. They arrested a 39-year-old unlicensed taxi driver with a criminal record. His DNA matched the angle grinder and the window frame. But here's what stunned investigators. These weren't master criminals. They weren't part of an international syndicate. They were local petty criminals. The first suspect had 11 previous convictions, 10 for theft. Small-time burglaries, nothing on this scale. The second? 15 previous convictions. He'd once rammed a car into an ATM to steal cash. These were not Ocean's 11. These were neighborhood criminals who somehow pulled off a $102 million heist. Paris prosecutor Laure Beccuau told the media, "What we are seeing is that people with no significant association with organized crime are progressing relatively quickly to committing extremely serious crimes." Within days, they arrested more suspects. A 37-year-old man believed to be the third member of the team. A 38-year-old woman, partner of one of the suspects, charged with complicity. By late November, 9 suspects had been detained. 5 were formally charged. 4 were released. But the jewels? Still missing. And the biggest question remains unanswered. How did these small-time thieves plan and execute such a sophisticated heist? Was it truly random criminals, or was someone on the inside pulling strings? Consider the facts. Fact 1. The thieves knew exactly which window to target. The Louvre has 403 rooms, miles of corridors, hundreds of windows, yet they drove straight to the Apollo Gallery's specific balcony. Fact 2. They knew the exact location of the crown jewels within that gallery. No searching, no hesitation, straight to 2 specific display cases. Fact 3. Security camera coverage was abysmal. Only 39% of the museum's rooms were monitored by cameras, and the camera in the Apollo Gallery facing the wrong direction. Fact 4. The museum's surveillance system password was literally Louvre. Fact 5. A 2014 audit by France's National Cybersecurity Agency had warned about serious security flaws, trivial passwords, outdated software. Nothing was fixed. Fact 6. Museum staff had been on strike months earlier, protesting understaffing and untenable working conditions. Security positions had been cut repeatedly, while attendance soared to 9 million visitors annually. Fact 7. The heist occurred on a Sunday morning, exactly when tourist crowds were highest and security would be most distracted. Former bank robber and security consultant David Desclaux later claimed he had personally warned the Louvre about glaring vulnerabilities in the Apollo Gallery's layout. The museum never responded. So was this an inside job? Prosecutor Beccuau stated, "There is no sign of insider help for now, though we are not ruling out a wider network."
Not ruling it out, because the coincidences were too perfect, the security failures too convenient, the timing too precise. Consider this scenario. What if someone with intimate knowledge of the Louvre's systems, a current or former employee, provided detailed information to these criminals? What if floor plans, security rotations, camera blind spots, and case vulnerabilities were handed over? What if the petty criminals were simply the hands executing a plan designed by someone else? Someone who knew the Louvre's secrets? Someone who could never be caught holding stolen jewels? Someone still working inside those walls? The question that haunts art recovery experts: where are Napoleon's jewels? 3 theories dominate. Theory 1. Melted down. Some experts fear the worst,
that thieves immediately melted the gold and pried out the diamonds and emeralds. Individual stones are untraceable, the historical context destroyed, the craftsmanship of 19th-century Parisian artisans lost forever. But art recovery expert Arthur Brand calls this unlikely. The swift arrest of suspects may have prevented this. They didn't have time. Theory 2, hidden. The jewels could be buried, locked in a safe house, waiting for attention to die down. In the 1911 Mona Lisa theft, Vincenzo Perugia kept the painting hidden in a trunk for over 2 years before trying to sell it. If the jewels are intact, waiting in darkness, there's hope for recovery. Theory 3. Sold internationally. High-level collectors, private buyers, black market dealers operating in countries with weak art theft enforcement. The jewels could be on display in a secret collection, admired by someone who paid millions and asks no questions. INTERPOL added the stolen items to their database of 57,000 missing artworks worldwide. But recovery rates for art theft are depressing. Only 10 to 15% of stolen art is ever found. As of today, December 2025, Napoleon's emerald necklace remains missing. The sapphire set worn by queens has vanished. Empress Eugenie's brooch is gone. France mourns not just the monetary loss, but the historical devastation. These weren't just jewels, they were witnesses to history. They survived revolution, empire, republic, war, and peace. They represented the glory and tragedy of France itself. And now they're ghosts. The heist revealed something more disturbing than stolen treasures. The Louvre was vulnerable. A Senate hearing in December 2025 exposed shocking details. Nobody was monitoring live feeds during the robbery. The security team was overwhelmed, unable to watch thousands of camera angles simultaneously. The Apollo Gallery camera faced the wrong way, a fact highlighted in previous audits but never corrected. 30 seconds could have made the difference. If security had spotted the breach just 30 seconds earlier, police might have arrived in time. An investigative report concluded, there has been a chronic, structural underestimation of the risk of intrusion and theft at the Louvre for the last 20 years. 20 years of warnings ignored. Director Laurence Descartes offered her resignation. It was declined. $93 million in security upgrades were planned, but the work wouldn't be completed until 2029-2030. The security camera authorization had lapsed in July 2025, months before the heist. Opposition politicians used the robbery to attack the government. Jordan Bardella of National Rally called it a humiliation. Eric Ciotti described it as the ultimate symbol of the current government's collapse. But perhaps the darkest detail, this wasn't the first recent museum theft in France. November 2024, Cognac J Museum robbed. November 2024, Hieron Museum robbed. September 2025, Adrien Dubouchet Museum robbed. September 2025, National Museum of Natural History robbed of 600,000 euros in gold. France's cultural institutions were under siege, and the Louvre, the crown jewel of world museums, fell victim because people in power didn't care enough to fix the cracks. So, was it pre-planned? Absolutely. The question isn't whether planning occurred. The question is, how deep did that planning go? Were these criminals brilliant enough to study the Louvre, identify its vulnerabilities, time their attack perfectly, and know exactly what to steal? Or were they pawns in someone else's game? As suspects sit in French prisons awaiting trial, the jewels remain missing. Investigators continue searching. Tips come in daily.
Leads are pursued across Europe, but the truth might be simpler and more terrifying than any conspiracy. France's cultural heritage was guarded by outdated cameras, trivial passwords, insufficient staff, and bureaucrats who ignored warnings for 2 decades. The thieves didn't need inside help. The Louvre betrayed itself. And somewhere in the world, Napoleon's emerald necklace sparkles in secret. Empress Eugenie's diamonds catch light in a hidden vault. The sapphires of queens gleam in darkness. Stolen not by master criminals, but by local thieves who saw an opportunity and took it. Because when the guardians fail, the wolves don't need to be sophisticated. They just need to be bold enough to climb through an open window. The investigation continues, the jewels wait, and the Louvre stands, vulnerable as ever, a fortress with broken locks, protecting treasures worth billions. How long until the wolves return?